Yay, we are live. Holy moly. That was quite an adventure. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is officially Geek Talk, and this is our Wednesdays where we like to get super, super geeky on all the things. Okay, so today we thought we originally were going to show you guys a reference library that Dan has been hard at work building. But we made a slight adjustment in the game plan because we wanted to share with you guys kind of a little bit of the story behind it. And it's just not quite ready yet. So it was a combination of the
Let's
two.
put it this way. It's kicking my butt. Okay. That's what's happening here. Just it got to be a little more interesting in the structure than I thought it was going to, but I'm getting there. By next week, we better have it done and be able to show it to people, or I think I'm fired. So we better better make it happen.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let me
Well,
share
do you
my.
want to show them? Do you want to show them what we're modeling it after, or do you want to show them the other one first?
Well,
just show it to
my
them.
very overly organized brain says that we either need to talk about reference library or we talk about Sabo, but Sabo kind of bleeds into reference library. So let's hold.
Okay, well, you talk about Sabo then.
Okay. Well, no, but I think what we're doing with reference library, Sabo's going into that, right? And so let's talk Sabo and then we can transition to that.
Okay. Or we'll just talk about it next week, one or the other.
Let's talk Sabo and then we'll talk about that. Perfect. Okay, cool. So so this is the Sabo membership project. So this one was a little bit of a fun one for us. So Sabo is he's a master of meditation. He teaches meditation practices. He exited Silicon Valley. I think he made 3 exits, multimillionaire in Silicon Valley, and then has come over to this ClickFunnels entrepreneurship space where he is teaching meditation and basically a consciousness coach, for lack of a better word, for other people who are either escaping Silicon Valley or just kind of done with the overachievement and ready to introduce other things into their life and their practice. So it was quite a journey for Dan and I. And basically it was Sabo has this deep expertise in manifestation. And he was brought to us actually by Brandon Henry, who Dan knew. And so they connected. And then at that time, Dan was struggling with moving and family stuff and sickness. And so he's like, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, sure. And so then jumped on a call with Sabo and Brandon, did the discovery call. Then we did our typical journey audit, which is what we do with all of our clients. And we analyzed what his current journey audit was. It was kind of a hot mess. And so we said, hey, this is the plan for how to do that. We went and did what called a learning journey map, where we mapped out that initial journey. And for Sabo, it was the sprint model. So we talk a lot about the 6 different models. So the very first thing that we did with Sabo was a sprint model. Now, and then we crafted all of that, and then we created a multi-level dashboard with the sprint model being the first thing. Now, fast forward, Sabo was like, great, and he's working on traffic, and he needed to have a place to bring people in to get access to what he's calling a challenge. But in our world, it's just a little bit of free resources to generate traffic and get people in from his TikTok stations and Insight Timer and places like that. So he needed what we now would call a reference library. At the time, it was hey, let's just bring him into some kind of program, right? And we were testing stuff out. And then since then, he's created several other courses. So if you go to his funnel and his site, and you can actually, anybody can do this now if you want to just funnel hack it. So this is his funnel hub that we did for him. And on his funnel hub, if you go into one of the very first lead gen techniques that he does,
Are you sharing your screen?
I've been talking this whole time and I have thought I was sharing my screen. And did it just stop?
No, you had not been sharing up to this point.
Dan, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls. All right.
So you said when you go there that you actually
Okay,
reference.
we are cooking with gas now. And hello to the person. Yes, it's always complicated. All right, so now that we are cooking with gas and you can actually see my screen.
A little bit okay, now we are. Okay, now I see your screen. Okay, finally. Okay, I see Sabo there now.
Okay, awesome. All right,
Yep.
so this is the Funnel Hub, and that is Sabo, and this is his Funnel Hub. So if you wanted to check this out, you could do it on your own if you wanted to funnel hack it. It's a free thing. So here's his Funnel Hub, and if you go down to the second step in his customer journey is the 7-day money mindset meditation. So you come in here to the challenge, and this is a typical opt-in, right? So you're gonna come in, I'll opt in, and I'm going to opt into the best week ever. Now, immediately this takes you into thanks for registering, create your account. Once you create your account, then you are automatically in here. Now, because I've been in all of his programs, everything is unlocked. But typically, if I was just Joe Schmo off the street, this money mindset meditation challenge would unlocked, but everything else would be locked. And so they're upsell options, right? And free resources would be unlocked. So it immediately takes me into a place where I can see the offers and I can get upsell. It's a great lead gen technique. And you can also, when somebody logs into your ClickFunnels, you can add a tag in ActiveCampaign that they are a lead and that they came into your world. So super cool. So I would come in and I'd see this and I would start to do my money mindset meditation. And so this is, again, just super simple. There's obviously, we've done a lot with design, but in terms of like the basic principles of using ClickFunnels, it's just an audio element and the activities and then links out, right? And then a nice little, Dan did that like nice little highlight on the active nav. And so somebody could just come in here and go through it as they want. Same with if I go into my free resources, which would be your library model. This is like early, right? Is right now, it's kind of just this dumping ground of free resources. But you can imagine as he would start to dump in more and more stuff, this kind of becomes unwieldy, right? Because then it's like, oh my gosh, do I have to do a long scroll? Do I have like, what am I here for? What do I need? So now in terms of me accessing these free resources, it now starts to become a little bit, okay, at first it's like, wow, I've accessed all these things. But then it's like I have to spend time in terms of, well, what's good for me? What do I like? What do I want? And when it starts to get a lot, because you're dumping more and more free content and more opt-ins in, right? You're going to start to need some kind of system to be able to easily find these things. And that's where the reference library comes in. So in this membership area, we have a reference library in his free resources, which we're going to turn into a reference library eventually. We have his lead gen, which is more, it's more like a DIY course, right? Just because it's a free resource, because it's self-paced, somebody come in and just go as they want. And there's a clear starting point and end point, and they can take it as, do it as they wish. But then there's also the sprint. So he was running cohorts and sprints of people coming in order to do the I Am Hope challenge, or we've played with the name of it, but it's the I Am Hope or I Am Self Mastery. So when you come in here, this is where it's super cool. So right now I'm registered as cohort 2, which has already passed. And so I see everything and I'm on the final leg. If I was coming in on the next cohort, then all of the rest of this stuff would not be shown yet. And it would auto place me right at the place where I need to start, which is choose to be a mirror. So the only thing that I have available to me is this first section, and it would auto land me right on the day of this lesson release. Now, because we're in Geek Talk, this is where we're going to go super geeky. So you might ask, Dan, how the heck did you get it to be so that I get landed on the exact lesson for the day that I'm supposed to be at in the cohort? Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about that code?
Do you want to give away all the secrets here? Well, first off, how it's going to be set up is because it is a sprint or a challenge model, whichever you want to call it, the content will be dripped out day after day after day after day. So just as remember, this is ClickFunnels 1.0. So just as a natural feature in 1.0, anything that is past or in the future, let's just say anything that's in the future that has not been released yet will not show up on the page at all. So if you want to bring somebody in and you want to say, let's say we got, 5 lessons we've already dropped out because 5 days have gone past around, we're like now on the 5th day of our sprint. We want them to go to that 5th day content immediately when they land there. And so what you simply do is inside the code, you just say, go in there and find the very last lesson. And instead of going to the first lesson, which is the native feature inside of ClickFunnels, we go to the last lesson on the page, and that's where they end up. Now, when I built the original challenge funnel itself, we even took it one step further, wherein when you came in, you didn't see the navigation. So you didn't see the first 4 days. When you got there, all you saw was day 5. So you'd open that up and it'd be, boom, here is your content for today. This is what you're working on today. And then if you wanted to, you could click a link and you could go back to the previous days, which was on a different screen. But that way, when you're in a sprint model, you can bring somebody in there and you can just focus them on, okay, today is Friday. This is what we as a cohort, as a team, as whatever we are, this is what we're all working on today. Doesn't matter if you didn't get the last 3 days done, you're going to have to do that tomorrow. But here's what we are working on today.
Yeah. And just to be super, super clear, in terms of releasing of lessons in ClickFunnels membership area, you can do it date-based or you can do it drip based on but the problem with the drip is that it's based on the point at which they create an account. And very rarely, especially if you're doing sprints and cohort models, do you have people start on the exact same day that they create an account, because they create an account the day they purchase. And usually there's a little bit of a lag. So we couldn't rely on drip. In fact, I rarely use drip because it's such an unreliable system. Usually we use a date release. So this content is made available on this date. But then to Dan's point and what he was saying just now is that in addition, he added his code to be able to say, and look towards the last date so we land everybody on the right place. So super cool for sprint and really important for sprint models.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I never tested it technically to see. So if we say that, June 1st, everybody gets this content, does it open that up June 1st based upon my date, based upon the user's date, based upon some date inside of ClickFunnels itself? I don't know exactly when that is. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, but I'm not sure.
No, it's actually really important. So it releases at midnight on the date of the owner's time clock. So Sabo, who's in California, it would release at midnight PST.
Okay. So midnight his time. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Which is always a little bit interesting, especially when you want something released at like 9 a.m. Really the only way to do that without special code is you have to release it the day, 1 day ahead, and then just come in at 9 a.m. and put it to today, and then it will unlock. Yeah. Okay. So again, this is what we're looking at is it's a multi-level membership area that has a sprint model, a reference library model, a course model, and then it also has just another course in here that this one, I'm so excited for this one. It's going to be so good. But so it has a combination of different experience models based off the offer that he's selling. Okay. So this was the beginning of us starting to, hey, you're inside your continuity. You might have several different offers. Each offer is a particular experience model, but it all has to live inside of one membership area. Okay. And so this multi-level membership area we now can use for that. Okay. Second problem was this reference library. And that's what Dan's been working on. And so the reference library is something where if you are used to seeing funnel flicks or Netflix or Masterclass, it's these places that are basically dumping grounds for content. And our job in order to create great customer experiences is we have to create some kind of organization system for people to be able to come in and find stuff and reference stuff using our keywords and our jargon and our language that we give them. So, Dan, are you ready to share the goods?
You got the link, right? Well, are you going to show Russell's page first? Or do you want me want me to show my screen?
No, I can pull it up. Give me one sec.
Well, just pull up Russell's, and then I can share my screen and show the actual live page, because I gave you the wrong link anyway. So
okay,
that'd be best if I just share my screen.
Okay. Do you want me to pull up that link that you just sent me?
Well, it's just russellbrunson.com is what it is.
Okay,
you can just
got
type it in.
All right. And okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, so on this here, we're going to russellbrunson.com in case you want to go there yourself. And I don't even know why I ended up on here one day. I think somebody was asking me, hey, how did they do this on this page, or something to that effect. And there we go. And I was just like, oh, I kind of like the way this thing looks. And at that point there, we were starting to talk about more building the library reference model, whatever we're going to call it. And I was like, I kind of like this format, because realistically, it's when you think of, what is the most common reference library model you have out there? Well, it's a WordPress blog, where you go into your WordPress blog and you can give things tags, you can give things categories, and usually on the left or right hand side, it'll say your categories, and you'll have your whole list of your different categories. You click on your category, and then you see a listing of the blog posts that meet that category. And so that's when I saw this. I was just like, oh, I'm going to model this, but I'm going to use it to build a membership site. And then we're going to set categories on each one of the lessons within the membership site. And then we're going to categorize each one of those so that it, I don't know what it becomes at that point, but it's become difficult, a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be to build, but I got it mostly done as far as the functionality of the navigation. Let's put it that way. So the functionality of the navigation I have built. Now I got to put in all the animations and a lot of other things. But if you want now, Andrea, I can share my screen.
Yeah.
Really quick. Let me reload the page here.
And again, what we just looked at was more of just design inspiration and organization inspiration. It obviously isn't a reference library in and of itself, or it's just a place that has a lot of content. And so we were looking for some ideas. And so this would be inside of a membership area, what Dan's about to show you. It wouldn't be, readily accessible like Russell's pages. But in the organization on the left would be kind of the categories of the library. And inside would be an organization schema for the content of the library, so people can easily browse and peruse, and also reference back things that they had found. All right.
Okay, so if you put up my screen, and just because I'm sitting over the top of that, that's why I can't see anything. Okay, so you see in my screen here now?
Yep.
So again, here is Russell's page. And so what we wanted to really look at is, of course, one thing you got here is a sidebar that goes in and out. Ours will have the similar kind of a sidebar. It won't be actuated quite the same way this one is. But then on the dashboard page that you saw with Sabo's site, there's a series of boxes on here. And as you come in and you click one of these boxes, so let's say this would be library number 1, it will open up this sidebar. It'll have a title up here at the top that'll say library number 1, and then it'll have a listing of all the categories all the way down the page. You could close this. When you close this, all these boxes will come back onto the page. And then let's say we go to library number 2. Again, this will go away. The sidebar will slide in. It'll say library 2 at the top, and you'll have a listing of all the categories. And then when you click on each one of the categories, it will show you the lessons that are associated with that category. So let me find our live page. That again, it's still a work in progress. We got a lot of work to do on here. So I still got to build out the page with all the boxes for each one of the courses in here. So that will work. But then once this sidebar opens, so I click on the box in the middle here that says library 1, sidebar will slide in. It'll say library 1 at the top. These will not show on the page down here because I just haven't got them split up yet. Again, I'm still just in building and testing phase. And so then what's going to happen is, so we got category number 1 here. So let's say I'm building a site, a reference library about how to write code for ClickFunnels. So maybe my first category is going to be HTML. My second category is CSS. My third category is JavaScript. So think of that in those terms. You can put any word in here you want. I'm just using the term category right now for testing purposes. But then when you click on this category, then it will open up the lessons that then fit in here under HTML. And then here under CSS, every lesson that has a category tag, or I should say the category of CSS, will open up here. And then you can just click on it. And immediately then it takes you to that content, shows it on the screen here. And the other thing that we have in here, of course, is that when you open up any one of these lessons, that it automatically closes up the rest of the sidebar. Because otherwise you can have, all kinds of chaos over here and not know where you are. So if we click on this, it will close up everything except for the active lesson and the active category that we have open. And then as we go along, if we're in here in this lesson right here, this will be highlighted a lot more, just like you saw with Sabo, had like a line and an arrow and that kind of stuff to really signify which one is the current lesson that you have showing on the page. So it doesn't look like much, but it did take me a few days to figure out how to get all of this going. I mean, I've done this before with other memberships. I did it with Sabo. If we were to go into Sabo and click on things, you would see very similar functionality. But in this case here, because of the way I had to use the categories, which we've never used before, and to actually be able to set attributes on just about every element on the page, it took a little bit more time just to get everything set up so that it would function properly. But we got this done now. So now basically over the next 2 days or so, I'm going to build out the rest of the functionality. And then hopefully by next week at this time, we'll come back and we'll show you not only this site done, because this is just my prototype, but then we have a client that we're going to modify it for and be able to build it out for him. And then also we're going to use it for our own site for Geek Out Academy. We're going to use it for that as well. So
I think what's so cool about this too, Dan, and I can't wait to show all of you guys, because I think, what Dan just showed, and this is a typical project that we do, is it starts with, just the architecture, right? Because the architecture defines everything. It determines everything in a project. And so we do a lot of architecture work, and Dan does his code, and it doesn't necessarily have the graphics or the imagery or anything. In parallel, we're also creating our membership experience guide. So Nicole is hard at work doing the design of what it would look like. And it's kind of so cool because there's these like 2 pieces then that come together in terms of the architecture's in place, and we add in the imagery on top, and then it just like comes alive, and it's so fun. So we will be sure to share that process here on Geek Talk.
Yeah, the end of last week, Andrea is saying to me, "Oh yeah, hey, we got the pictures and we got this and that." I go, let me just figure out how to make it work first. We gotta, it's like building a car. We gotta make it work on the inside first, and then we can make it pretty on the outside. But,
all parts are important, and it is not just pretty. It is actually helps with conversion and customer experience, and making sure it all is needed, Dan. It's all needed.
Pretty helps with conversion. If you got a Yugo or you got a Ferrari, they both get you down the road. One's a lot prettier than the other.
Do we want to have a philosophical debate about design? I can definitely go there if that's where you'd like to go, but I don't know that our viewers would necessarily appreciate that. So I think all of it is important to come together, and just so appreciate all of us being able to pull it together and share it with you guys. So without further ado, we will keep you posted on this awesome project. And if you guys have questions on the ways that we can bend ClickFunnels to our will, then we would love to hear from you guys. And otherwise, share with us your cool projects and your questions. And thanks again for letting us share our cool stuff. It's so good to have you guys with us. And unfortunately, I can't see the Facebook users other than just a shout out. So you have to tell us your name. But thanks for joining, guys. And we will see you tomorrow for Geek Camp, where we are talking more about reference libraries. Bye.